Easy on the pedal there, Gomer. It's Sunday morning. Out and about in the 392. Daily driving as usual. It's been 1 year and 10 days since I purchased this vehicle. I've got 28,626 miles on it. It's been a fantastic vehicle. I've had two issues in those 28,000 miles. One was the tire issue, and the second one, or the unbalanced wobbling issue. And the second one, which I just noticed, is like some other people have reported, the top of the engine, the gold paint is starting to flake off on the left side of the top of my engine. Other than that, I've knocked on plastic and leather. It's been very good to me. This is a 2022 392 non-XR running on 35s. I had the 35s installed the day I picked it up at the dealership. I brought them over with me, had them installed there. It had 4 miles when I picked this vehicle up. A brand new 392 feels solid, secure, brutish. It's got a feel of strength and power to it. It gives the Wrangler that brawn to back up its tough good looks. The changes that they made to the frame, the geometry, to get everything to work with the 392 has made this into a much better vehicle. There's a light speed of difference between a regular JL and a 392 JL, and I can't stress that enough. It really changes the entire dynamics and feel of the vehicle. I'm very happy with this Jeep so far. I've had a lot of Jeeps over the years, and it's been a phenomenal vehicle so far. You know, I saw this weekend, I was watching Trail Recon, and I saw where he had to have his transfer case swapped out, or is having it swapped out under warranty because of issues with the clutch packs in it. I don't trail or anything, I'm not towing anything, and I don't have the mountains to climb like he does, so I can't address that. I know he had 35,000 miles on his vehicle in 1 year, and a lot of it is hard miles, so far it's been a great vehicle. I'm going to give a really quick overview of the vehicle and then talk about the issue that I've had. The one issue that I had, which really cropped up recently at about 25,000 miles. Got 27,000 miles in 1 year on my 392. So 1 year with my 392, it's been a fantastic vehicle. I couldn't ask for a vehicle better suited for what I was expecting. Having had a bunch of Wranglers over the years, I know what to expect, so I was pleasantly surprised. The day that I picked it up, we're in the 392. We've gone a couple miles since I picked it up at the dealership. We're getting ready to hit the road officially here. Haven't had the chance to do much, and I'm still got a break-in period, so it's going to be an easy couple hours driving. I can honestly say I was amazed when I drove it away at how well this vehicle rode. It rode and drove like no other Wrangler. It was taut, it was tight, secure, it felt sturdy, and it felt like it was capable of doing anything. It was an amazing vehicle, and it still is an amazing vehicle. I picked it up at the dealership. This is a 2022 non-XR, which means it arrived at the dealers with 33s. I had brought a set of 315s or 35s over there with me. I had them swapped on before I even left the dealership. So I never drove the vehicle with 33s. I started developing an issue about 25,000 miles, I guess it was. And I have to say, from the moment that I got in this thing, and the feel of this vehicle compared to any other JL that I had driven, there are light years in difference between a 392 JL and a regular JL. This 392, when I picked it up, felt so solid, so put together, very secure, stable. There was no vibration, no hint, no weirdness, none of the normal feeling that you would expect from a Wrangler. I was amazed at how well this drove brand new. I could go from 0 to when the speed limiter shut me off without a hitch. It wouldn't shimmy, it wouldn't shake, nothing. Everything was perfect. And it stayed like that for a long time. Through all the testing that I did, through the brake torques, through everything else that I was doing, through my off-roading, wherever I went, everything was fine. About 25,000, I mean, probably about 25,000 miles, I started developing a little bit of a wobble. And it's not like a death wobble, it felt more like an unbalance in the wheels. BFG KM3s. For some reason, I always seem to end up coming back to the BFGs for my recreational vehicles. I started developing a shake, a wobble, an unbalancing. It started around 45 or 50 and would continue to get worse as you got faster. It would never get out of control. I could still drive it, but having driven this vehicle with 4 miles, I knew exactly how it should feel. So that brings me to one of the points of contention that I was having at the dealer, where the people that were test driving it said, yeah, it feels good. And it's like, no, it feels like a regular Wrangler. This does not feel normal for a 392. And it took me a couple times to finally find somebody who was like, yeah, you're right. You know, this doesn't feel like the other one. Now I've got this issue where I'm developing a wobble or an unbalanced feeling. So I've got almost 25,000 miles on the vehicle. I use this vehicle as my daily driver. The area that I live in was devastated by Hurricane Ian last year, like 7 months ago or whatever it was, 8 months now. I'm not even sure. Anyway, I work at hospitals. A lot of the hospitals were in the areas where, 1, they were damaged, and 2, they needed to be online fast as possible. You know, things had to be done. So the job that I'm in, I ended up at a lot of the hospitals at the worst possible times. So my tires were full of plugs. So it was time for new tires. I decided to get some new tires put on. The tires myself online, took it to a dealer, a tire specific company that has installed lots of my tires on other vehicles, Jeeps, sports cars. They didn't want to mess with the beadlocks. Okay, I try one of their competitors, same thing, they don't want to mess with the beadlocks. Now I know I've got a couple free oil changes from the dealer. You know, have them mount the tires, do the alignment. So I bring it in there. I get it back and it's no better. If anything, it was worse than it was. Call them up, say something's wrong, bring it back again, and wait around for 3 hours while they do what they got to do, take it back. Next time I get anywhere up around 50, 55, I notice it's still there. No better at all. So now I call them up, I'm like, something else is wrong here. And the guy says, well, we're going to look at it again. You know, the last time we 180'd one of the tires, seemed to help. And I said, well, it didn't help, so now it's going back in. So now I'm dropping it off. While I'm waiting to drop it off in a couple days, I had ordered 5 tires and only 4 of them arrived. Well, the 5th tire, the spare, arrived. So now I'm going to have them mount the spare too. So now they've got 5 brand new tires in the Jeep. And I say, use whatever 4 are going to be the best to get you the best results. Okay, thanks. All right, so now I've dropped the Jeep back off at the dealer and they've got to work on it. I get a call from them saying that one of the drag links was wearing out. They replaced it. Things seem to be better. A couple minutes later, I get one call back from the service advisor. Jeff, man, I'm really sorry. It's been an issue. When the tech was going to mount your tire on your spare, he destroyed your rim. you got to be kidding me. He's like, no, I didn't even want to have to call you. I'm really sorry. And that was 8 days ago now. I still got no spare. Now they're saying the 28th before it comes in. But back to the issue with so now I've got the vehicles in there. They've changed one of the drag links that was supposedly worn, and I've got the vehicle back. I get it up to speed. It definitely felt better, but it wasn't fixed. Now I haven't had a chance to mess with the thing, to play around with trying to see if I could figure out what was going on myself. I did the obvious stuff, checking nuts and bolts and things, but I hadn't done anything. And I have been trying to keep this vehicle relatively stock. You know, I haven't done any suspension, lift, nothing. Just the tires. And I was trying to hold off on that, but I was seriously considering doing it anyways now. So I decided, well, you know what? Let me take a look and see what I got going on. Now, I've always added stronger steering stabilizers to my vehicles. This specific vehicle, if Jeep Chrysler didn't feel that the vehicle needed a steering stabilizer, they wouldn't waste the expense, the time, the effort. That being said, it was easy enough for me to change. I'm going to change it anyway, so I did. So I ended up replacing the steering stabilizer with a Fox ATS 2.0. Happy to say that my Jeep feels like it used to. In fact, it feels better than it used to. 1, 2, 3. 30, 50, 75. Shift points 30, 50, 75. Not only has the shimmy, the shake, the unbalanced uneasiness of it cleared up, but I've got that secure feel that it used to have in a straight line, and when it's turning, it's much more progressive and smoother. It's got such a on-road manners now compared to the other steering stabilizer. Does that mean that my original steering stabilizer is worn? I went through the trouble of putting the original one back on, took it back out, the problem returned, put the ATS back on, and the problem went away. So I can only assume that my stock steering stabilizer was failing. But right now, with the ATS, the Fox ATS 2.0 steering stabilizer, it feels better than new. And I'm very happy for that, because now I'm going to progress with whatever lift I end up going, whatever route I end up going. And that's always the problem with Jeeps and bigger tires, and everybody, bigger tires. But the bigger your tires, the more hassles you have getting it balanced, the more problems you have finding people that can do the job right. I mean, I've been doing it a long time now, and it's just always the same crap. Unless you're in an area where you have somebody that's really, really good, it's tough, especially with the amount of Jeeps that are out there now. Will a steering stabilizer cure your death wobble? Absolutely not. It may mask it. It may make it seem a little better temporarily, but it's definitely not going to cure death wobble. And when people say death wobble, I don't know if they've ever actually had real death wobble. You get death wobble, it is so violent, you swear you are going to die, and your Jeep is just going to flip. The only thing you can do is slow down to a stop and then continue again. You know, if you're lucky, you may be able to drive slow and then come out of it. I had a TJ once, and I love the vehicle, but this one TJ, I could never get the death wobble to go away. It would clear up for months at a time, and then one day it would just go into death wobble for no reason. It was bizarre. 2 different lift kits, never got it resolved. Tried everything. I finally gave up. It's the one vehicle that I can say that I actually did give up. Just because I was tired of dealing with it. Would I recommend a 392? Absolutely, depending on the person's situation. I've had great luck with this vehicle so far. Other people haven't had good luck with their vehicles. It's an expensive vehicle, but if you are a fan of the Wrangler and you can swing it, I say do it. Worst comes to worst, you can turn around and sell it. But this vehicle is so much fun. If you understand what a Wrangler is and use it the way it's meant to be used, it's one of the, if not the most fun off-road vehicle I've had the privilege to own. And I love this thing. If you're a fan of Wranglers and you're a fan of big power, this is your ticket. Some of the new grille coming out on the 24s, and I guess the anniversary issue, I'm not a fan of. It looks too much like a Renegade. You don't typically take one of your best vehicles and make it look like one of your lower priced vehicles. It's usually the other way around. The red leather, I could do without unless I was getting a red matching vehicle. They should offer some other colors for leather. With this Snazberry, I would have much preferred a tan or beige interior in this thing. Being down in Florida, black interior, not a great idea. I'm a fan of AEV. Their products, good quality, but man, it's a steep price to enter. But if you want a complete package, there it is, winch and all. Sometimes you can make that decision based on what you want to do. What are your thoughts about the anniversary issue and the 24s? Do you have a 392 now? Are you looking to upgrade? Are you going to upgrade? Interested to see what other people think about this, about the new 2024s and the 20th anniversary. Then there's a question of the issue that I spoke of with this vehicle, which was this unbalance and wobbling and steering stabilizer. All I can say for sure is that when I removed the stock steering stabilizer and replaced it with the Fox ATS 2.0, the remnants of the issue disappeared. When I changed the original steering stabilizer back in, the problem returned. When I switched the ATS back in, the Fox, it went away. Does that mean that after 24,500 miles, my stock steering stabilizer was starting to fail? I can only assume it does. Next up is going to be the lift. And you know, it's funny because I was watching Trail Recon this weekend, and he was talking about his rigs, and his 392 came up, and one of the things he mentioned was how he loved the stock ride in his 392. And I cannot agree more. The 392 rides like no other Wrangler. It gives it the tough and the brutish feel that this vehicle was lacking. It feels solid, it feels tight. Not something you typically think of when you think about a Wrangler. I love this thing. When I'm in Off-Road Plus, I average 14.6. When I'm in regular drive mode, I average 12.8. So I typically am driving an Off-Road Plus on the street. Unless I'm up on the highway and I know I'm going hours and hours, I'm going to be an Off-Road Plus. And I think on my specific vehicle, it's because it drops into 4-cylinder easier when I'm an Off-Road Plus. I've seen some posts and such where people with XRs are saying theirs won't go into 4-cylinder in Off-Road Plus mode. And the only thing I can attribute that is to the gearing. Let's talk about gas mileage and MPG after 28,000 miles. In this specific vehicle, which is a 2022 non-XR 392, I get better gas mileage around town when I'm driving in Off-Road Plus. Seems to drop into 4-cylinder much easier when I'm in Off-Road Plus. 4-cylinder mode. And this non-XR on 35s, my specific vehicle goes into 4-cylinder all the time and relatively easy, especially when I'm in Off-Road Plus. Probably 99% of the time on the street, I'm in Off-Road Plus. Sometimes if I'm spending a couple hours up on the highway, I'll slip it back into normal drive mode, but typically I'm in off-road plus. The vehicle feels so sluggish and tame when it is in regular drive mode. To me, off-road plus is more like a sport mode, which I thoroughly enjoy. I've been able to lay down 4.5 second 0 to 60 runs. Shifted right at red line. That time the rev limiter definitely cut in at like 95. I felt it and I heard it. Now that is weird. I've also had instances 3 times now, and I think I got it on film once or video once, where the vehicle, I was doing a run in off-road plus, I don't have a taser installed, and the vehicle exceeded what should have been its cutoff. Where one time I actually let off the pedal when it got to 113. Reset, 1, 2, 3. And I've talked to a few other people, and nobody really spends as much time, it seems like, playing around with off-road plus as I have. So the people I've talked to haven't seen it happen to them, but at first I thought it was a fluke. I've got 2 different GPS running when I'm doing these runs, the same GPSs that I've taken to the track on my other cars, vehicles, so I know they're accurate. First time it happened, I thought it was just a fluke and I missed something, but it happened 2 more times over the course of the runs that I was making. So I know that it was a legitimate thing going past that. I find off-road plus when I'm trying to like slow cruise in the sand or the swamp or whatever I'm doing. If I'm trying to go at a very slow crawl, or I don't want to say a crawl, a very slow cruise, I tend to have it in regular drive mode, not off-road plus. Just because the pedal is a little bit more aggressive and when you're in off-road plus, so it wants to get a little bit touchier. If I am just slow cruising through the woods, I'll typically have it in regular drive mode, not off-road plus. 4 high auto is going to send the power or wheels that it feels needs it most. 4 high part-time is 4-wheel drive, 50-50 split, like old school 4-wheel. And I do a lot of my off-road in that mode. And you can kick up some great donuts in this thing. When you're in part-time and all 4 wheels are slinging rooster tails, it's a lot of fun. On a side note, I have to say how amazed I am. The GoPro stabilization software is amazing, because in a bunch of times, especially when I was running those donuts, it was a lot bumpier than it seemed on the film. Even smooths out some of the fishtailing. When they first came out, I was under the impression that the XR had a bigger lift than the non-XR. It doesn't. It's the same size. I've really enjoyed this vehicle. If a person is looking into buying one, it is a big expense, and you have to judge what you want to do. 2022 non-XR 392, running 35s. Everything else is stock, including this camera, which is still on. hopefully. But if you haven't had the chance to drive a 392, preferably a brand new one, you will be amazed at the ride quality of this. It truly is a beautiful on-street mannered vehicle. To knowing that this thing can climb the side of a mountain like a billy goat, and it has such great street manners for a 470 horsepower, 470 pound-foot of torque vehicle, and a Jeep Wrangler at that. I mean, let's face it, you're driving a brick with wheels, a 5,000 pound brick with wheels, depending on how you got it loaded. For this thing to do what it does, the way that it does it, is a fantastic feat of engineering. The things that they can do with software now to tame down this kind of power and make it so tractable and accessible is amazing. And the Jeep engineers and the people that built this vehicle really did think it out well, and they put a lot into it. Can it be better? Yes. You can always spend more money. You can always improve things. It's just a matter of how much money do you want to spend. But considering what they started with, what they were trying to do, it's pricey, but it is a step up from a regular Jeep, and I don't think people understand that. It's more than just the engine. It's the whole entire package. The streetability, the ride feel, the solid feel, the heft. It's brutish. It feels substantial. Like I said, it gives the vehicle the brawn to back up its rough and tough good looks. The YouTube algorithms are biased against the smaller channels, so you don't see them in the feed as often. They don't get pushed to the front. So please, like, comment, share, subscribe. Anything you do, a like, a comment moves me up in the algorithm. It's highly appreciated. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that can afford to make YouTube videos and not have to work for a living. So I plan on increasing the rate of my videos. I've got a few vehicles and a few videos coming out. I'm going to shoot for one video a week. But the Jeep is my daily driver, and I love this vehicle. I couldn't be happier with this vehicle. It has been exactly what I was hoping for and exactly what I was expecting.